Hi everybody, welcome to my channel, Space Mountaineer Forever. Today this is not a Disney video, this is actually a new series that I'm going to be starting on, which is basically I'm going to be showing a couple of videos of my aquatics. This is one of my 10-gallon tanks. This tank was started at about 8 months ago, and now it's flourished into a really nice, vibrant little forest. Let me get the light for you guys. So this is what my 10-gallon tank looks like. I currently have 3 10-gallon tanks. One of them is not being used at the moment. This tank has quite a few Anubias plants and an Amazon sword right there in the far right corner, right there where my finger's pointing. And the type of fish species I have in here are all tropicals. Just to name a few of them, we have some zebra danios swimming at the top. We got a long leopard gold danio that's swimming over there in the back. We got a little green cory catfish right there in the right hand corner. We got some neon tetras swimming in the background. Some rosy barbs on the top. And we got some very small baby mollies, Dalmatian mollies that were hatched, that were born about late December last year. So this tank is really thriving well, but that's not the focus of where this series is going to take place. The tank that I'm going to be showing this new series on is actually going to be my 20-gallon tank. I just recently purchased this tank about 2-3 days ago, and first I want to talk to you guys about just the basics of aquatics. You'll hear a lot on the internet about people going planet tanks, going gravel tanks, which is just your basic tank with a lot of props and colorful assortments of decorations here and there. And then you have ones that you see on the internet where people go crazy with their plants and turn it into a big old giant forest underneath the water. For me, I would do my very best to try to achieve that, but I'm not saying that I'm going to turn my aquarium into a giant forest. So yeah, let's dive into this series. Hope you guys enjoy it, and do my very best to hit all the necessary topics that need to be discussed. I'll try to make these videos about 15 minutes long each. I don't want to bore you guys to death. First of all, when you guys are first getting into aquariums and aquatics, you guys need to first get a table for your aquariums. This is an old entertainment system table that I've used now as my table for my 2 aquariums. Very durable, and it has a little, I guess, storage area for my boxes and my solutions and chemicals. Has all my test tubes down there and all the electrical cords down there as well. Next, you guys want to dive into when purchasing an aquarium is the type of gravel. Now, the type of gravel system that I'm using for my 2 tanks is what's called a substrate. That's substrate for those that are beginners. Now, substrate is the type of material you want to use when you're making a live plant aquarium. It basically acts as a nutrient source for your plants, and it also helps to let them grow in its own natural environment. As you can see, I have two different types of substrates. One of them is called the Flora Max, which is a black colored substrate, and I also have just your basic aquarium substrate. The bags look something like this, nice and green, and there's the black soil in there. And also, so these are both made by National Geographic. Well, the aquarium substrate made by National Geographic, and the other one is made by Floramax. You can find both of these type of gravels in your local pet stores. I like to use PetSmart. Shout out to them for no other reason why, but yeah, I trust the guys there. One of my good friends that works there, he's pretty cool. He knows his stuff, and he owns a Planet Tank as well, so that's where I get all my advice from him. And then there's another type of substrate that you could use, but I don't really prefer it. It's a clay type of substrate. It's called fluorite, and it's a clay-based substrate. So the way how that one works is you have to actually wash it a couple times before it becomes clean, whereas Floramax already comes pre-washed, so there's not much cleaning to do with that type of substrate. But that's another option. Some people say they like it because it gives that natural ground cover of the ocean, so it all depends on preference, to be honest, when it comes to making aquariums. And then the last choice, which is, like I told you earlier, this is your basic aquarium gravel. Comes in many different colors. My favorite color tends to be like this bluish, kind of greenish, kind of like. I don't know why, because I guess my favorite color is blue. But the thing with this kind of gravel is it doesn't give off any nutrients for your live plants. So it makes it a little bit difficult and more harder for the plants to grow. So that's why they always suggest going with the substrate, because it has those nutrients in there. But yeah, I mean, if you're not going to do a live Planet Tank, then by all means get this stuff. And they're all fairly cheap to buy for gravel. They don't cost too much in the pet stores. The next thing you want to get is your conditioners and chemicals. So everyone's going to need their type of water conditioner. There's many different brands in the store. I just happened to pick up Top Fin. There's also API, which is another good brand, which you guys see down there. This basically conditions the water. So if you get any tap water or water from the shower, you need to let your water sit for about 30 minutes to let the chlorine dissipate, and you use that water conditioner to basically eliminate all those chlorines and bacteria. The next thing you're going to need is this thing called Quick Start, which basically it allows the tank to be cycled. Oh, and you must cycle your tank at least 3 days before you add any fish to your tank, so that the bacteria cycle can start itself and be ready for fish. Because if you don't, you just don't want to go down there. So yeah, so about the Quick Start, this allows you, once you have cycled your tank, you can start adding your fish into your tank. So this is very good. You must need. And then one other thing that you need if you're going to go a live Planet Tank is you need to have some sort of a CO2 booster. And the bottle looks something like this, and it basically contains CO2 to make your plants grow and be vibrant and healthy. It usually requires about, at least, it says 1 milliliter for every 10 gallons. So since my tank is a 20-gallon tank, I use 2 millimeters, and you only do the dose once a day. Now, I'm not quite sure if that means once every day, or I don't know how some people do it. Do they put it a lot, or once every day of the week? So that's where comments come in handy. I do read a lot of comments for learning on tips and how you guys do your tanks. So I'll be really appreciative to see those comments below. Um, Also, as I mentioned earlier, with the fluorite substrate, sometimes if you guys, when you guys are adding in your water, sometimes the substrate will get very cloudy or very, like in this case, very bubbly. So in some of the packages, they'll have this thing called this biomagnet clarifier. And basically what this does is it cleans out the cloudiness, because I've seen some tanks on the internet where their tanks are very full of cloudiness and it almost seems like you did something wrong. But do not worry, do not be alarmed. It's just what the substrate does, and if you add that clarifier in, your tank will look basically completely clear. Now, as you guys see in this video, there's a lot of bubbles on my tank. That's because I just recently added in all this water. But if you give it about 1 to 2, 3 days of cycling, it will go away eventually, and you'll end up something like this, where your tank is totally clear. And so yeah, do not be alarmed about that. Also, another thing you guys want to keep in mind when you guys are doing your tanks, decorations. My friend at PetSmart said it's all about on the preference, how the aquarist wants to decorate their aquarium. Like I said, some people like to go for driftwood and kind of make that natural effect to the aquarium. For me, I've just basically chosen a treasure chest in the back left corner, a little bridge, and this I guess kind of tunnel slash hideout over there. And hopefully, I've also bought some ground cover plants. And also, there's one rule of thumb for plants. You want to have what's called your forefront plants, your mid front, and then your back end plants. Now, the forefront plants are going to be your ground coveration plants, aka grass, grass plants, or plants that kind of cover up the ground like a carpet. Your mid plants are going to be like your medium sized plants that kind of make like a sub level kind of plant area, and then your background plants are gonna be your tall plants, and they're gonna cover up like the back side of the tank, so that it gives it that nice depth to your tank, and it also gives a lot of hiding spots for your fish, because your fish will want to hide in there, go to sleep in there, and etc. So, like I said earlier, it all comes down to preference, how you guys want to set up your tanks. And one other thing is with your tanks, if you're gonna do a planted tank, you must get something that has a real good light source. And that basically is going to be my preferable preference is the LED strips. It depends on how big your tank is. They sell them at PetSmart and Petco and any other local stores. This one in particular that I bought has two different type of features. It has a daytime feature and a nighttime feature. I'll show you guys what the daytime feature looks like and the nighttime. So right now it's on the daytime feature, really bright, nice and pretty. And then this is what happens when I turn off my lights. This is no light, and this is what they call the moonlight feature, which kind of gives it that nice little glow in the dark kind of feature. If you guys can see, there's a couple of colored rocks in there, so if you guys have any glowfish, this would be really nice for glowfish ability. So yeah, that's an option.